Hello, I'm Nobby. Welcome to my workshop. Last Thursday I went along to the Midlands Model Engineering exhibition near Leamington Spa. Had a really nice day there. My son very kindly uh, drove me there and stayed with me for all of the day, and we had a very pleasant time together. I shot some little sort of video clips while I was there, not very much at all actually, because there was so much to see, people that I met to talk to, so what I did film and what my son filmed as well, I've joined all those little bits and clips together, and I'll put them at the very end of this video, so if you don't want to watch that switch that off after I stop talking. Anyway, I did have a shopping list with me of things I was going to look out for while I was there. One company that are there every year are our friends Myford. There were two items I wanted. The belt that runs between the countershaft and the spindle of my lathe, it is a bit sort of raggedy now, and it's the belt which gets moved the most. Obviously if you're changing the speed of the lathe, and when I'm doing various operations on the lathe, and when I might be changing the belt 3 or 4 times on one particular job, so the belt obviously is going to move, and you can bet your life it's going to break at the worst possible time. I did about a year ago fit a clutch to the lathe, and I realised after I reassembled it all the big mistake I'd made. I should really have fitted a new belt then, when the lathe was taken apart, and I don't think I could bear to take it all apart again. Obviously it would need a lot more disassembly to fit another standard drive belt to it. So what I decided to do was to buy a link belt for it, which can be fitted very easily and quickly to the lathe. So on the Myford stand they had these link belts. They're obviously belts that they recommend for the Myford lathe. It's a Megadyne belt which very easily clips together. You've just got to adjust this to length. You might need to take, they told me, 1 or 2 links off this to fit it, but I'm just going to keep this in reserve, ready for the time when that belt goes. And obviously in the work I'm doing, it's really just a hobby for me, so if it had been interrupted and I needed to order one of these, and it would obviously take a few days to come through, that wouldn't really matter too much. Nothing I do really is that urgent, but I thought it'd be nice to have one of these on standby, ready for the day that happens. The other item I bought from them also was a new pulley. This is the motor pulley. So this has the belt obviously running from the motor to the counter shaft. My lathe does make quite a lot of noise, and if you've watched some of my videos, you may have heard that it's quite noisy, and I think actually that the pulley that's on it isn't balanced terribly well. It may be worn here. I don't know, but I thought what I would do is get a brand new pulley and fit this and see if that makes a difference to it. I notice a great difference when I've changed the belt here to change the running speed of the lathe, that it doesn't it makes a lot of noise rather when I set it to the higher speed. Something that I had a long chat to the people on the Myford stand while I was there, and they told me, for one thing, that these belts are in operation are a lot noisier than the normal belts, but also the it fits on, obviously we need a little keyway to fit it to the shaft of the motor, and underneath that, we can't see it through the plastic bag, there's a little grub screw that locks this in place. They do recommend that a good thing to do is to drill another hole on the opposite side and tap for a second grub screw, and they said that will make quite a difference to how the pulley runs on the motor. So I guess I'm going to do that as well when I fit this, but this will obviously be a fairly immediate project for me, because I want to sort of get this on the lathe as soon as I can. But anyway, that was the two major purchases. I mean, these items are quite expensive really, but I think although Myford have got just about every part and accessory you could imagine that you can buy, these things are just expensive basically, but I had to have them. The other items were just bits on my little shopping list that I wanted to look out for. One was a piece of 1-inch EN1A steel. I checked through what bits of steel and aluminium and brass I've got, and there was nothing very much that really I needed immediately. And when I have a project in mind that I needed this piece for, and by buying materials there, obviously you're saving a huge amount of money in postage if you ordered it online, so took advantage of that. And I also got a couple of pieces of silver steel of sizes that I'm short of. I try to keep a small selection of silver steel in common metric and imperial sizes. Other items that were on my list, I wanted a Morse Taper 2 half centre. I don't have one of these. I don't use dead centres hardly ever really. I tend to use the sort of revolving centres when I'm working, but quite often I've had to turn very, very thin pieces of material which need a centre to hold them straight so that they don't bend as you're cutting them. But sometimes these bits of material that I'm machining are so thin that the revolving centre gets in the way. So I thought, well, I'll get a half centre and see if this is going to help me get the lathe tool in close enough to the work to be able to turn that. I also picked up 3 new dies of some sizes. One size I wanted particularly for a job, the others really are just to fill some gaps in dies that I don't have. I'm trying to sort of get together a few more imperial sized dies. I've got quite a lot of admittedly second-hand taps in imperial sizes, but I never had very many dies, so I thought I would try and pick up a few of those. There was also one size of tap or tap and die that I don't have that I wanted as well. The rest of it was really looking around the various trade stands there just to see if there was anything that caught my eye basically. Nothing that I was in dire need of. There were a lot of temptations there, I have to say, but money being what it is, I didn't want to sort of spend a huge amount of money, because I'd sort of, being on a pension, I have to sort of budget what I do in the workshop, and of course most of my spending budget went on these 2 items, which I did really want. On one of the stands, they're a very interesting one that's always there. It's a gentleman that seems to buy up a lot of, I guess, unused, unwanted stock from the aerospace industry. I always look at his stand, and I've bought a huge amount from him over the years, but I just wanted a few new files. He didn't have the file that I really wanted, but I looked through all the other ones he had, and I did buy these. It's some 6-inch files. They're all different. Number 1, 2 and 3 files, and these were sort of quite inexpensive, but the files from him have always been extremely good, so they'll be very, very handy. They're a size of file that I use quite a lot. These are sort of quite handy for work on the lathe as well. There's no handles on them, but I have got a little stock of file handles already. Of course, the rule is if you're using a file on a lathe, it must have a handle on it, because if the file knocks against the chuck as it's revolving and it pushes the file away, the tang could quite easily do damage to your hands. So that's a very good rule of safety in the workshop. Another stand there that has a sort of mix of all sorts of bits and pieces. I spotted that he had some sandpaper. It's different to anything that I've actually got. It's an Emery paper. This is 240 grit paper, but it's cloth backed. Most of the sandpaper Emery paper you buy now is paper backed. I think generally the stuff that you buy from DIY stores and similar is all imported now. I don't know if there is an industry in the UK making Emery paper and sandpaper anymore. And I find with a lot of this sandpaper, compared to what I used in my dad's workshop years and years ago, that even the paper back Emery paper was very durable, and it did last. That the paper you buy now, the actual grit on the paper does wear down to the paper base very, very quickly. So I'm hoping this will be much better. The nice thing about this also is that you can obviously easily tear strips, and what I have to do with the others is use an old pair of scissors and cut strips of it off. So I'm hoping this will be okay. This paper is actually made in India. Alux is obviously their trade name. They're a massive company out in India producing all types of abrasives and abrasive paper. So I'll give this a try and see what it's like. It was not terribly expensive. There's a pack of 5 sheets of it, so I'll see how I get on with that. There are a few vendors there that sell second-hand tools. So I guess that some of them probably go into businesses that are either selling off equipment, or they've gone out of business and everything is being sold, and they go in and sort of clear out workshops and workshops in factories and so forth, or possibly even private workshops. And I always look through these to see what tools they have. Again, there's lots of sort of things that I would have liked, but not things that I really need. I try really to limit the things I buy to things I'm actually going to use all the time in the workshop. Some time back I was very kindly given a set of brand new telescopic or snap gauges for measuring the bore sizes of the holes that you're boring in material. These were I think a sort of an import item, but they are very good. They work extremely well, and I'm going to have used them quite a bit since I've had them. But I did spot on one of the stands there that this one, it's I think it's the first size from a set. It's a number A size. I think they run sort of alphabetically from A upwards. But this one, I just had to buy it. It wasn't expensive at all, but it's made in Japan by Mitutoyo. And I love their tools. I've got micrometers and other gauges made by Mitutoyo, and this one is also from them. But this one is slightly different to the ones I already have, in that both sides of this move in. So it can be, the other ones I have it only one side goes in, and obviously when you're measuring, the little lock on here holds them in position, so that you can then measure off with a micrometer. So I thought it was quite nice that the very small ones are something I'm more likely to use most of the time, because I'm making small steam engines, so I can measure the bore size of the cylinder when I'm sort of for cutting the piston and so forth. So I just treated myself to that. I did see something on one stand. It was quite an old mill vise, and I think, if I remember right, I've got the name right, I think it's Sevo. I think it was SEVO. It's made in Sweden. When I've seen these before, one of the YouTube channels I watch is the Knackler's Workshop, and that's Paul has that channel, and he showed one of these some little while back. He said he'd been looking for one of these for a very long time, and it's a very interesting vise in that on the, let's get one, this vise over, it's not the same, but if you can imagine the vise here having built on the top three sort of revolving clamps made in a number of layers, and these can be revolved into different positions, so that the vise would actually take a whole range of sort of irregular shaped materials, triangular, circular shapes, and whatever, and you can adjust these clamping devices around to lock onto the material. There are a couple of locks built on the outside to lock these in position, but the clamps are also in a number of layers. The layers, I think it's about 4 layers of them, and these can be adjusted in and out across. And I guess that what you could do with the top ones, if you move those out slightly from the others, the layers below, if you can understand what I'm saying, could perhaps be used like parallels, so that material could be balanced on those layers down at different levels, and then the whole thing locked into place. I mean, when he showed this, I mean, it absolutely intrigued me, and they are, he did say that they are very expensive, second hand, and I did see one on one of the stands, and yeah, again, it was a very expensive thing. I couldn't afford to buy it anyway, but it would have been such a sort of a useful type of vise to have. I've looked on, I mean, in fact, if you're interested in looking to see what they're like, I mean, have a look on eBay, and they crop up there, and if you do a Google search, you can see pictures of them as well, so you'll be able to understand. If you couldn't understand my explanation, it was rather bad, I know, but it will show you how these operate. And sort of modern, there are more modern equivalents to these. I think they call them finger vices, where the vise has sort of a if you like a layer of teeth, like a comb, and these teeth on each side mould themselves around whatever material you put in them. They would be even more expensive, and I've only seen them on a couple of American channels. I don't know, perhaps they are an American produced item. I'm not really sure, but I imagine they are horrendous prices, but quite a novel thing really, because clamping unusual shape material is often a real problem in the mill vise. I mean, with round material it's not too bad, and some vices have these V grooves in them to enable you to hold round material in. The other trick is with round material is to put the round material in with a V block and use the V block to hold it in place. I mean, I have done that many times. So anyway, I thought it's just a sort of an interesting thing that I saw this one on the stand and had a really good look at it. I mean, I've never seen one first hand before, so I thought we'll just have a look and a bit of a play with it. I find it quite intriguing. Well, anyway, I hope this was of interest. I hoped that I might have seen some other YouTube people there, but I didn't. I mean, it was actually on Thursday. It was very crowded. I imagine even worse during this weekend, because obviously people that are working during the week and can only go at the weekend, and of course it would be a family day as well. Small children obviously can go in free of charge, and of course all the railway engines, the railway tracks and everything else with things being sort of moved around there would be of great interest to kids as well. So I did look out to see if there was anyone I recognised. I thought I did at one point, but no, not at all. One very interesting thing for me as well is that I went on the SMEE stand, the SME stand, which is the Society of Model and Experimental Engineers. Their stand is absolutely wonderful. That their members there produce the most incredible engines, and the display there was really wonderful this year. They also showed a beautiful silver trophy. It was the Duke of Edinburgh Award for engineering or model engineering, and I was talking to the secretary of the society. I had quite a long chat with him, and before I got to the end of the stand where he was positioned, I saw there was a fairly elderly lady in a wheelchair talking to, well, 2 or 3 members of the society, and when I started speaking to the secretary, he mentioned who this lady was. It was, if you're familiar with the name, it was Cherry Hill. The Cherry Hill is probably one of the best known model engineers in the world, and has produced also there's a book produced of her, not written by her, but of her models, showing Cherry's model engines. They're so beautiful, the engines she made. She's a very elderly lady now. She's in her early 90s, but you can't sort of just imagine it, you know, that well, you know, I know that it's a male dominant thing, model engineering. I know there are a lot of ladies and girls involved in engineering anyway, but she, obviously her father was an engineer, and she started working with lathes and milling machines at a very, very early age, and produced really in the time period a huge number of beautiful engines. Apparently a lot of these were, as she made them, were given away as presents to people. Some were given to various societies as well, but I didn't unfortunately get a chance to go and just say hello to her, but it was actually wonderful just to see her there. It was quite a lovely thing. But anyway, I hope this has been of interest to you. if you don't want to watch the bit that follows all of this, of the little clips from the show itself, you can switch off as soon as I stop talking. Anyway, just thanks to all the subscribers to my channel. Quite a few have added quite recently. If you haven't subscribed already, please do. And thanks also to all the lovely comments that you've been giving me recently. Well, anyway, you can either switch off now or carry on and watch the little clips that I'm adding on the end. Cheers for now. Bye bye.
That little steam, yeah, the little steam turbine I've got, that's what I've got actually. The little gearbox on it. Yeah, I can't come in. No, they're amazing really. It costs me to make, so what they are. I like it.